Okay. So first we're first going to have to learn a little bit about Node, right? Because we're going to be these libraries typically are being implemented. Since we are storing JSON and retrieving JSON and writing and updating JSON, JSON is native to JavaScript. Yes. So we're going to be using Node.js as the executable framework and implementing our applications in JavaScript. Right, JavaScript on the server. Usually, when folks think of JavaScript, they think of browsers and running on some on the client side for some UI. Not necessarily. We're going to be implementing server-side applications that interact with non-relational database. Okay. So let's do that. Let's bring up here another tab, and let's go into CS5200. Oops. And we had created something for this year and this semester, and in here, let's create a directory where we can play around with this. Okay. So we'll say make directory CS5200 server, but this will be a Node server. So let's go in there, CS Node. It's empty, there's nothing there. So we'll create a project, right? Just like you would with a Java project, we'll create a Node project. So we'll say npm init. So first of all, just a couple of words on Node. Node. The only thing Node is it's an interpreter. It's a JavaScript interpreter that allows you to execute JavaScript on a desktop, right, from the command line, as opposed to in a browser. Most folks, again, think of JavaScript as being executed on the browser, and so Node.js just allows it to implement things right on the console. Obviously, you lose a lot of things you take for granted on a browser. There is no UI. There are no buttons. There are no mouse. There's no UI, right? There's no windows, no alerts, or anything like that. Yes, but instead, when you're running at the console, you have full-blown access to the network. You have full-blown access to the file system. All sorts of things that you would not have access on a browser. You do have full access here, and you don't have the same constraints and security constraints that you would have on a browser. You don't have none of those here running on a full-fledged machine. All right, so when you install Node, you get at least two executables. You get the Node executable that allows you to execute JavaScript applications, and you get npm. npm means Node Package Manager. It's the equivalent of Maven, right? In Java, Maven is a building tool, right? It allows you to install new packages, allows you to go fetch all sorts of libraries, download them, and install them locally. So npm plays that same role, right? And one of the things that it can do is to initialize a new project. Npm init. Npm init asks a couple of questions. It says, what do you want to call your project? It takes the name of the directory as the default name of the project. And then it asks you a whole bunch of questions, version, description, entry point, test command, get keywords, me. And it says, OK. It generates a JSON object that represents your project. And it stores it in a file called package.json. Yes? Right? Which describes your project. And this package JSON file is the equivalent of a POM file in Java, in a Java project. Yes? You have pom.xml in Java, and the POM file describes a project. It's project object model. Yes? It describes your project. It also describes, not only the name of the project, maybe the author. It also declares a whole bunch of dependencies, right? What libraries does your project need to be compiled and run successfully? Yes? Package.json plays that same role. All right? Make sense? All right. Excellent. So let's create our first toy Node application. So we'll say let's we can open it up with our favorite IDE. All right, so I'm going to open that directory I just created. 5200, 2019, fall, right here. This is OK. It parses it. It realizes that this is a Node project. And there's nothing here, just package.json. That's all there is here. Are we OK? All right, so I'm gonna create here a file, and we're gonna be playing around with Mongo. So let's create a brand new JavaScript file, and we'll say Mongo. Actually, I won't call it Mongo because Mongo is already a command line, right? So we'll call it. I'll just call it server.js. Server.js is a very common name since Node is very famous for being able to create servers. You know, HTTP servers in 2 or 3 lines of code, and you got an HTTP server. Well, okay, so let's have our toy server here, and let's just say console log hello world. Okay, and as you would expect, this is the simplest hello world example. You can say node, and then server, and then it just runs. It interprets the file and runs it and executes it. And indeed, there we have a hello world. Everybody good?